Very good morning, everyone. Hope all of you guys are doing great as usual. Welcome to the session 4 of Book Club Across Borders. Here we are in Book Club in Parwan province, and we have some students in here. And it is better to start our session. And I don't know where is Rawalpindi's coordinator.
Yes, we are here, Parwan. I am from Rawalpindi. I am the coordinator.
Yeah. So it is better to start our session.
Yes, sure. Please go ahead, start the session, please.
Okay, as you know better, this session's book was about the name of the book was The Card Charmer. It was the second book of the Khalid Hosseini, a very we can say a very well-known author of the novel was about the histories that Amir was we can say the narrator of the story, and it is better to listen from the cute students from Parwan or either Rawalpindi. So, in Parwan, is there anyone willing to speak about the we can say the main character of the novel? And who can say that who was the main character and what was the story about, novel about?
Oh, that's wonderful. Great.
That's something.
Assalamu alaikum. Hope all of you are doing great and start a very great morning. About this book, I have to say that this book was outstanding and was very beneficial and fruitful to me. And the first about Hazara and Pashtun people, I first read and know about them during my school time and geography and history books. And there was mentioned that Pashtun people hated Hazara people, and as well as through reading this book, I got the opportunity to know more about Hazaras and Pashtuns. Um, we can say conflict, and as well as actually Hazaras. Hazara people at first belonged to Hazarajat, and due to some problems like they have been victimized by Taliban and Al Qaeda group, and due to this problem, they turned to or they went to different places such as Pakistan, Quetta, and also Afghanistan and Iran. The time came that Pashtun wanted to kill Hazaras, and Hazara people said, "Okay, we will fight, but by not by guns or with guns. We will fight with you by educating ourselves, by improving ourselves in life." And as a Tajik, I don't see any differences between Hazara and Pashtun people. As in the book was mentioned that Pashtun people says that Hazaras what kind of face we have. I don't see two faces to be human, but by their behavior and way of treating to other people. That was the only thing that I got from the book. And thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us and wonderfully stated what you stated, that the differences between the Hazara community and the Pashtun community, as depicted in the media, is not very that gruesome. These communities have been living together for a very, very, very long time, and have been coexisting together. So, what the discrepancy comes in is in the context that when Khalid Hussein is writing this book is written post the 9/11 era, when the situation is not very that consistent and that cordial between communities existing in Afghanistan and in Pakistan. So that's a very nice point. At this point, I would like to introduce myself again. As you guys might know, my name is Alicia. I am here at Citizens Archive of Pakistan, and I'll be moderating the session today. And we also have a very special guest with us, Mr. Ashit Qureshi. Mr. Qureshi is a young Pakistani student who now lives in America in Chicago. He's also author of this book, Mera Jism Mera Jism Mera Hai, which is an illustrated short book for kids and describe which is touches upon uh, aspects of human society where sorry for that. So the book touches upon the aspect helps children and parents navigate the complex and taboo conversations around each other. So in our society, as we see, while parents don't really have conversations with their children about important issues just because they're considered to be taboo. So it's a very good approach by Mr. Qureshi to try to navigate through that challenge and furthermore, he has studied in University of Chicago, where he now also works. So I would just like to ask Mr. Ashkuresh if you would just give us some opening remarks to what he thinks about the book Kite Runner and how he views it.
Thank you for the introduction, Alicia. Hi, everyone. I'm very, very excited to be here. I'm very honored to be here. And I wish, honestly, when I was in school, I had sessions like these where, we could speak to people from different countries and about, our shared love for books. And I think this one is very poignant because a lot of themes in this book, both good and bad, are still reflected in our society today. And I think they're still, when it comes to, let's say, issues of abuse, issues of persecution. I feel like those themes still exist today, unfortunately. And I think um, it's a really good moment for us to really think about how something that has persisted since so long that we need to do something about it and that we need to make some changes within us so that our everyday interactions and our daily lives, we are working towards making a community where issues like these can only be read as fiction in books and are no longer part of our reality. So I'm really excited to be here, like I said, and I am very interested to hear what you guys have to say about the book and hear your insights. And I'm sure I'm going to learn so much from you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. So on this opening remark, let's move on with our friends in Rawalpindi, because we have Rawalpindi and Parwan together collaborating for the fourth time, and this is the first session of the new year. So I would just like to go to our friends in Rawalpindi and just take their view on how was it for them to hear, to read the book, The Kite Runner, to hear the stories of the book in the book, and how was it for you, and how did you navigate it through that journey?
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mahnoor Fatima and I'm from Grammar School Rawalpindi. I personally really loved this book, Kite Runner, and Khalid Hosseini has been one of my favorite writers as well. This story is about loyalty, friendship, and betrayal. And this tells that the friendship cannot exist if one person is loyal and the other is not. The loyalty is a factor that should be present in both the friends. And furthermore, the one of my funny friends, told about the minority issue in Afghanistan, that the Hazaras are oppressed by the Pashtuns. I just wanted to put a spotlight on the fact that this minority issue still exists. It's true that it still exists, not only in Afghanistan, not only in Pakistan, but in the whole world. We can take the example of the Black people that were oppressed in America. I just wanted to say that we, as the upcoming generation, which is responsible for our countries, we need to focus on unity. And we don't, this sect division is anchoring our country. It is a weight for our country and it is a hurdle for our country to flourish. So we need to unite, we need to ignore these sects, and we need to be like a unity, and we have to have faith in each other. Like the founder of Pakistan said, that unity, faith, and discipline, these are the aspects that lead us victorious. So as the future generation, if we focus on these 3 points, then I'm sure that we will be victorious and we will make our country much more successful and a better place to live. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manu, for sharing your thought. And it's rightly said that the issues of race, issues of ethnicity, and segregation based on race, gender, ethnicity is a phenomena that we see all around the world. Even in developed countries, we see that these issues, although they have been able to overcome many, many, many issues, this is one aspect of a problem which has never been addressed to in a holistic manner. So that is very well true. Even in our country, Pakistan, even now see so many ethnicities, so many discrepancies within our one society, and globally as a human society, we see that in different shapes and forms these sorts of injustices. Because I feel like all these discrepancies and this segregation are branched out of the common notion of injustice, where one is considered to be superior over another, is very wrong. And these kind of endeavors are important to basically engage one another. So we might be able to engage one caste with another caste, one gender with another gender, one society with another society. And it is very important to look from the other person's perspective. And the best way to do that, in my life, I found, is literature. Because what literature does is allows us to build a bridge of empathy. That's how I used to call it. The bridge of empathy, because when we're reading, we are so engrossed in it. So the story becomes our story. And it's very easy for us to then transpass that barrier that we have of social norms, of social preconceived notions that we have. On this note, I would all the point that I would like to talk about initially is that the kite runner deals, as we said, in many multiple themes and many complex ways. But one common notion that we see around the book is the power of love. I just wanted to ask our participants in Parwan and then to our participants in Rawalpindi, how was the notion of love for you described in the book by Khalid Hussaini? While reading the book, were you able to find love as a foundation, as a cornerstone of what was happening, or was it different for you? Or were you not able to connect to it the same way maybe I was? I would just like to know your 2 cents on that. So over to you, Parwan.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning, everyone. As I think, when Khalid Hosseini was talking about Hassan, that one of his closest friends, so it was showing us the power of the love. And when Hassan was talking about his mother that have been dead, so it also shows us the power of love, that how much he loved his mother. And also when Khalid was saying that my father wanted me to be like a genius in my own life, but I couldn't do that. So it also shows that how the parents love their children. I just find the power of love in this book through this sentences that Khalid Hosseini have been mentioned.
Thank you so much for that thought, sharing that thought with us. So once again, I would just like to ask you, while reading the book, while reading the story of Hassan and Amir, and how they basically interacted with the differences that came between them and broke them apart and brought them together, do you agree with the notion that love has a strong power for redemption? That redemption is something that can only be achieved through love. Is that a notion you resonate with?
Actually, yes. I think it doesn't have any description, so yes means yes. So
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. So let's go to our friends in Rawalpindi and let's see how the notion of love was described for them in the book. Anybody from Rawalpindi who would like to talk about this aspect?
Yes, I would like to speak about love because the one thing that inspired me in the story was love, along with faithfulness. The story of love revolves around faithfulness. When you are in love with someone, you're faithful to them. No matter what happens to them, this love can overcome any challenges, any betrayals, anything. Because when I'm sorry, I always forget the names of the characters in the story, because when this mishap happens of raping, he still forgives his friend in that story because he loves him a lot. He's true to him, he's faithful to his friends, and this is one thing that inspired me a lot. When Hassan is raped and Amir is still seeing him, he still forgives him. Why? Because he loves him. He's faithful to him. He loves him more like a brother.
On that note, I would like to go to our special guest, Mr. Ashid here. And because Ashid, because you deal with mental health and you try to communicate in ways that we can understand our own psyche and our own psychology, I would like to hear your comments on this. That how do you see love as a gateway to redemption? How do you work around that notion? And would like to what would you like to educate our participants over here about?
I don't know if there's much I can educate about. I can just add my opinion. Um, I think, like was said earlier, there are many instances of love that we see. We see the unconditional love from Hassan towards Amir, but then we also see the conditional love that, let's say, Amir's father shows Amir, um, and the conditional love and then Amir shows Hassan. So we see this kind of unrequited love where where the one party loves the other one much more, and we see that play out in their behaviors as well. And then we see that kind of regret come in later when Amir realizes, how great of a friend had been for him. And I think in the end, Amir, at least in his own eyes, is able to redeem himself somewhat, or at least is able to find closure and resolution because he starts showing that unconditional love that he wasn't able to show anyone else towards Hassan's son, Sorab, at the end. So I feel like it comes full circle at the end where finally Amir understands what unconditional love is, what it looks like, what he missed out on, how he had wronged his friend, and I guess in a bid to make up for it, then he tries to show that same kind of grace and gratitude and love towards Sorab.
Thank you so much for sharing that thought. And I really agree with what has been said over here about the notion of love and how it's described in the book. I really feel that it's uh, what Khalid Hosseini does is by using these young little boys and the stories of these young little boys. What he does is that to explain how, as Pakistan, Afghanistan, as the South Asian society, and globally, how we can understand the complexities of relationship between us. So the South Asian continent, I call it the continent. So the South Asian continent, the subcontinent, the Indian continent that we have over here, that the history of ours is very complex, and there is a lot of intricacies that goes around with it, where we as communities bounded in our own boundaries, we have a very constructed notion where, and as we grow up, we understand that things are not as simple as we see. And as we develop that understanding, I feel the journey that we go through is in some sort similar to the journey that Amir goes through when he understands the importance of Hassan and how important Hassan was. So with as in this book clubs, as we've talked about different books, what I have understood is that our cultures, our heritage, our civilizations are interwoven with each other. There is so much that we have taken from each other and learned from each other over the course of centuries, that these concepts, these problems that we see, which are post-colonial, are are something which are very tiny when you look at on a holistic way on the magnitude that things we have done with each other. And the power of love and redemption has the capacity to work in the same way for us as it worked for Amin in the book. where we understand that even though we might have problems in the past about ethnicity, about race, about us being us and them being them, because that is a common notion that we see in history where we define ourselves with who we are, and we don't define ourselves with who we are. We do that by defining the other person. So our identity is based on what we are not rather than what we are, and this whole complexity. So the power of love has the same capacity to help us bridge that gap. And on that note, I would also like to ask now my friends in Afghanistan, while reading the journey of Amir and while reading the journey of Hassan, what was their view about Amir? How did they view them? Because what the writer does is that the writer explains the character in a way where he is very human, where he does make mistakes, where he does have his flaws and he does have his good things. So what was your take while you were reading the book and on the characters? Parwan?
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Hope you're all doing well and be safe from all coronavirus. And just I want to mention one thing that our life as Khalid Hosseini and the book taught that our life have a lot of difficulties. We will face every day with a lot of pupils that they don't want to be we achieve our goals to have a great life. But it depends on us that how we can live. We can have a great life and face it with all challenge that our life take us and receive all of our goals. Has Khalid Hosseini in his book and the book says that it's not depend to our life that make us. It depends to us to make our life better and better. And every day we have to change, make change in our life and have a better life and do not think about difficulties or problems that our life may have from us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that thought and sharing that view with us. Let's go to our friends in Rawalpindi now. Yeah, please, go on. I didn't see you there.
Okay, thank you so much from a very gentle student. So in this novel, there we had two main national people in Afghanistan. The first one was the Pashtun and the second was the Hazara. And unfortunately, in Afghanistan, we have a lot of discriminations based on the race, based on the nationality, and anything, even the language that we speak, and a lot of other things. So it is important that how we are human, and the exact thing in here is humanity that we have. So we have also the major character in this novel, and also the minor character, and the complex relationships between the characters. That as I studied the novel, there was a lot of characters that they had the relationships with each other. We had Amir that as I said to you before, that he was the narrator of the novel, and also there was Hassan and Ali. We had Amir Khan and a lot of other characters. And as I studied the novel, there were a very complex relationship between them. And the main point that here we can say was that the relationship between the Hazaras and the Pashtuns, that the true love of the Hassan toward the Amir, and also the guilt that the Amir had, and also his guilt was that he abuses the we can say the privilege that he had for Hassan. And also afterward, the main lesson that we can catch from this novel is that how we can, for example, we can atone our guilt. That at the end of the novel, the Amir tried to get the son of the Hassan and Farzana and brought it from the Afghanistan. That here we had a very bad situation in Afghanistan. So brought it to America, the place that he left here. So this is that how we can attune our guilt after doing that. So we had a lot of lessons from that novel. I'm sure that our students catch all of them, and our students are able to share all of them with you. And I just want from one of our students, Parwan students, to talk about the guest that Amir did on that particular time. What was the guest and how he attuned that? أول شيء برجمه رسام ممكن بناء متأكد ده كاسان وسطاش بجبران شو بتسموا ومناوت التكرار كمان مناوت يعني وعلى التكرار كمان درس فكرة كجبران جبران كمان. Thank you. So anyone else has to speak about it? Yes. I will share them with you.
Assalamualaikum. Good morning. It's
Morning.
Maryam Rahimi. I catch from this book, this novel, that a child, a kid, when born in Afghanistan, the difficulties start from that time. That Afghan people, all of them, have passed lots of the difficulties, and they're really have problem in Afghanistan, and they pass all of them, and they from the child, from the youngest one up to all of them. And now our situations are very good than past, and we're happy that get better than this. And peace come in Afghanistan. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And that is a hope that we also share in Pakistan for ourselves and for also with our neighbors. That the problems that we have within our communities, within our societies, which are kind of stationed on the basis of gender or race, should be solved, and there should be peace within us. And that is the hope that we have for it. So moving on to our friends in Rawalpindi, let's share the same topic, share the same question with them. That while reading the book and while reading the journey of Amir and Hassan and all the other characters, which were the characters they were able to relate with? Which were the characters they despised? Why did they despise their views on the story and on the, specifically on the characters and how they explain a different aspect of the Afghan society and the human nature in itself to them?
Assalamualaikum. My name is Ishmael Zahid, and I'm from Grammar School Rawalpindi. We have talked. This book written by Khalid Hosseini is a really different story as compared to other stories I've read. The characters in this book used by Khalid Hosseini are very different and very powerful characters. Um, what One of the most favorite character that I liked was Amir's father character. I really wanted to speak about him, that he was really different from all the other Afghanis living in that particular area in that particular period. He had a different mindset and a different way of pursuing different matters and situations. He used to think very wisely, and he was a strong and a generous person. Uh, he Talking about the major issues that were going on in the story about the discrimination, I would like to the writer wanted to convey that when we are born free, with equal rights and equal status, then nobody has the right to take our rights from us away. This was a really interesting and a different story, and I really liked this book. Thank you.
So I would like to ask a follow-up question from you, Ishma, that while you rightly mentioned that we are born the same way and we are born equal, so there should be no discrimination amongst us. And on this topic, I would also like to ask you, and then to our friends in Afghanistan as well, why do you think that discrimination happens on the basis of gender or race or any other reason? Why? What do you think is the common notion among these discriminations that we see around the world? And what is your suggestion on it? To how can we overcome it, solve it, whatsoever? So, what is your view that why these discriminations are happening? Do you see a common notion amongst these discrimination? May it be race, may it be gender, may it be ethnicity?
I would like to say that it is mostly on the basis of gender because in our society, a mindset has been created that women are weaker, whereas men are stronger. So this is one of the major reasons. That's why gender is always considered.
Thank you so much. So, for spreading the same question to our other participants in Rawalpindi, and then we'll move on to hmm, Afghanistan. That why do you guys think that discrimination happened? Uh, Discrimination can be in many forms. It can be on race, it can be on gender, it can be on any other form as well. So, but what do you think is the basic reason of why discriminations of this sort happen?
Assalamu alaikum, this is Mahnur again. I just wanted to give a point that these discriminations, I think the main point is the majority and the minorities. The majority thinks that if they are in the majority, they are in a larger number, then they are more superior to the minorities. So they don't give them the proper rights that they have. So I think that is the main reason why most of the discriminations happen. Similarly, in this book, Hazaras are in the minority, whereas the Pashtuns are in the majority. This aspect then makes more reasons for these discriminations. For example, the face colors, the classes, the facial structures, etc. For example, it is being the Hazaras are being discriminated in this book because of their facial structures. They look like Chinese, they have small eyes like that. So I think that is one of the most common reason in the whole world for which the discrimination or these things happens. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Would anybody else in Rawalpindi would like to contribute to this question, or should I just move on to our friends in Afghanistan?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
My name
assalam.
is Rajeshwari, and I have a question for the students in Parwan.
Mhm.
I want to ask them: has anyone there have faced any injustice?
So your question is for our participants in Parwan.
Yes.
Okay. So Parwan, let's move on to you. And the question that I'm facing in front of you is that why do you think that injustices happen, and what is the basic notion the underlining theme that is common among all injustices? So there are many injustices that Khalid Hosseini talks about in this book. In previously the books that we have read, we've also seen this notion of injustice, discrimination, segregation based on whatever element. So what is your view on it? Why do you think these discriminations and segregation happen, and how can we solve them? So first that view, and then we'll move to Mariam's question. So please.
Hello and assalamu alaikum everyone. Hope everybody everybody is doing well and have started a good morning. So I'd like to go on to talk about the discrimination and racism that happens in a country, and there are some reasons that why they happen. Like for example, if we say if we remember the history of Afghanistan or any other country, when they are invaded, or when other countries are trying to invade, the first thing they do is to remove the unity among them. That's the only way to remove a nation and to destroy a nation. So there have been many invaders in Afghanistan, and this has been their target to bring the discrimination between the nations. And if we go through history of time, this has happened to every single country in the world, even if it is the most powerful country. Uh, you know, like United States, which has racism and is still, has part of. I mean, there is a little bit discrimination and racism out there. So I think the second reason can be stereotypes. Well, if a person is not good, I mean, he does not have good manners, and does not treat people well. Other people have a stereotype about their whole nation, about their whole ethnicity. So I think this is a major reason, and this has been a major challenge in all over the world, and people have been researching for the ways to tackle this. So if we can talk about scholarships that are a way to remove discrimination and racism. So if I'm, like, for example, traveling to Pakistan, and I have my fellows from other countries, that I have an opportunity to remove discrimination, to talk, to present my best self, to present my nation, so that discrimination vanishes.
Thank,
Thank you so
thank you
much.
so much. Thank you so much for sharing that. That has been the highlight of my day. And
Uh,
yeah, please.
There was one thing more to share. So there was the question from you, I think, that how can love, drive out hate. So we can also give examples of Martin Luther King and other leaders around the world that have tolerated people a lot. I mean, people have been so cruel over them, but they still have not. They have tolerated a lot, and they have fought with love and no cease. So I think that can be love can drive out hate. There is also a quotation of Martin Luther King that says, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that, and hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that." And there's also another, same quotation from Gandhi, and I don't remember, so if you remember, please tell that to me. So he talks about, um, that's a famous one.
Yeah, I remember that saying from Gandhi where he says that if we take one eye for another eye, the whole world would be blind.
Yes,
What he's trying to say that if we just reciprocate hate with hate, we're just gonna be left with nothing there to salvage.
I would like to hear that in Urdu, if you can say, that's like,
Okay, so एक
uh,
आंख के बदले में आंख, एक आंख के बदले में आंख का मतलब ये होगा कि पूरी दुनिया अंधी हो जाएगी। कि अगर मैं आंख लूं और आप मेरी आंख लें तो उसके बदले में तो यही होगा कि सब अंधे ही रहेंगे। But thank you so much for those thoughts, and I would like to hear if there are any other thoughts in Afghanistan on the same notion that on discrimination and why discrimination happens.
Yeah, thank you very much from Hurmat. And it is very crucial to overcome the discriminations in all the societies. And it is us that we can remove that if we get together and if we put our hands together. So the discrimination is because of, as the main reasons told by our colleagues, the main reasons we can say that the majority of a nationality, or maybe the power that a nationality have and the others are in minority and they don't have. So it is our responsibility to remove that, and how we can do that. My suggestion is to ignore all the characteristics based on the face, race, and any other things. Even all of us are Muslims, Alhamdulillah, and we believe that all of us are the creatures of Allah. So if we live in this, we can say, if we have this vision, we will have no discrimination in our societies. So right now, is there anybody else to have any suggestions? for removing the discrimination because it is a very crucial issue. If you don't have, we will go ahead.
Okay,
So,
please, please.
My name is Tahanveed, and I'm from I study in grammar school Rawalpindi. I would like to talk upon this topic of racism. The reason is actually people in this category of people, they tend to believe that they are above all and better in every aspect than most of their peers and family members, and sometimes the entire world. It's not a disease though, but it's an exaggeration of the feelings of pride and confidence, or overconfidence to be specific. No matter what or bad they are in a particular field, they assume themselves to be the best. And this misconception leads to a bitter relationship with their friends and family. For it's and quite an acceptable situation on the account of the people close to them. Actually, what we tend to do is that we often put labels on people as we think that he belongs to a different racial background, and we also give them names like we can take an example from schools that we call them as lazy, brainy, aggro, we us, this happens commonly. So I guess this is we can either ignore them and stay away from them as they told us.
Listeners, can you please switch off your mic? Thank you, thank you. I Okay.
That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your views with us, and I really agree with that. And the reason, so just want to sum up what everybody else have said, and just to make a combined thought of out of it. So we hear that these discrimination happen because of this assumed when we see discrimination happening in any sort, we see there is a majority and then there's a minority being oppressed by the majority. We see, like our friends in Afghanistan spoke about, that we have certain stereotypes that are ingrained in our mind, and we have uh, we inhabited that mentality so much that we indoctrinated so much about those stereotypes that now they are just a part of who I am. A very important thing that I was reminded of while guys was sharing your opinion was this theory that I read back in my undergrad. It's called the sociological imagination theory. It's a term coined by this scholar, American scholar Steve Wright Wills, if I'm not wrong. So what he tries to do with this is that he explains that there is a bias in all of us. Me, I am biased, you are biased, all of us are biased. Who is saying that I'm not biased is I kind of like again being biased towards himself, because everybody is in this universe is biased. Human beings are very subjective. They learn what they want to learn, they see what they want to see. Our hearing is very selective. Our perceptions are very much made by our surrounding, by who we consider ourselves to be, our values, our morals. So we ourselves are very biased. And when these biased individuals come together as a society, the common biases among them becomes the social bias, the societal bias that we have. So what when we talk about majority, when we talk about minority, when we talk about these idea of stereotypes which are ingrained in our mind, we also need to understand our societies are a representation of us, who we are. So if we see misogyny in our society, it is no doubt that being a male part of this society, we are misogynist. There is no doubt that we are patriarchal in our own upbringing. And it is a very hard truth to understand. What Khalid Hosseini does by writing this book is to make us understand these hard realities of ourselves from the aspect of the characters. So So we are what, there is an Amir within us, there is a Hassan within us. And all the other characters that we see, we have the capacity to go that down or go that up high. So, what I want our students and what I want our participants to take from this conversation is to understand that all the biases that we are talking about, may it be gender issues, may it be racism, may it be ethnicity issues, we in some way or form have that. And why do I want you guys to take that? Is through the admission that something, the first step of solving any problem is admitting that there is a problem. So in Pakistan, there is a comes to gender. There's a huge discrepancy of power when it comes to gender. There is a huge problem of racism. There's a huge problem of common notions of beauty and beauty standards that we have. So it is very, very easy for us, I see, to say that okay, so because we have a colonial past and that is something that it is a heritage of that, for us to say that, oh, we have this tribal and conservative tradition. But what we need to understand is that cultures and tradition are very vibrant, very, very vibrant. So it's, if we have a tradition of uh, following one aspect, it is because throughout the period of time, at certain point we understood that we need to do this, and we adapted and we changed. So saying that cultures are seeing culture as something that is foundational and cannot be changed, it's a very wrong image to take. So I want our participants to also understand that what they are saying is right, but what they need to also understand that all they are saying is within them. It's a very famous quote by I guess Imam Jafar Sadiq or Shams Tabriz, I guess Shams Tabriz, where he says that when I wanted to change the world, my days would go into anxiety, and then started changing myself, and my world was changed. So all the traumas and all the complexities that we are talking about, I want you guys to also acknowledge that they are within us, and the battle is not with the enemy; it's with us. It's within us, and that's the battle we need to fight. So on that note, another important point that because we're running out of time, and I really want to discuss this point is the story of the refugee. What Khalid Hosseini does with his work is to humanize refugees for us. What when we talk about refugees, when we see the Syrian refugees on our TV channels, we, to a certain degree, because we are in Pakistan, we are able to relate with it because we also have had these issues in our own country since the early 1980s with Afghanistan and with everything. So we, both Afghanistan and Pakistan, can relate to it. But what I want to do is this, to talk about what was it, what aspects of refugee life were you able to understand? What is the life of a refugee? And then I have a very beautiful thing to share with you, a small interview by Mr. Khalid Hosseini, where he talks about why he writes, why he does what he does, why he is who he is. So let's go to our friends in Afghanistan. Let's ask them what what was the story of refugee that you were taking from the kite runner? Please.
So the main thing about the refugees that Khalid Hosseini is focused on was that how is the situations of refugees when they are going beyond the country, and how they are living on the earth with what kind of situation and with what kind of conditions. So it is very worth mentioning that we mentioning here that Khalid Hosseini was one of the Afghans that he was also a refugee that he went to the America, and also the America was the place that he became the doctor, India, and also there he wrote a lot of the books, and also we can say the novels. The first novel was the Kite Runner in 2001. He wrote that, and also we can say that when you are far away of your country, the first thing that you feel on that country is that there are not a lot of people that you know, and also there are many people that they think that you are we can say that you are the stranger because you are for them. So the condition is really we can say it is really profound to find yourself in a situation or in a country that you are stronger and dear and you didn't grow up on there. So it is really hard to deal with such kind of situations. But strong people are just using from that conditions because they make themselves stronger, and also they deal. It is really we can say crucial to find the strategies how to live in such kind of provinces. And we can say that there are a lot of countries that they have strict strategies for the refugees. That maybe some of those countries are not providing the we can say the a good condition for the refugees, and it is the hardest part. When you are a refugee beyond your country and you don't have that right to study like others, you don't have that right to live in a peaceful society. It is really hard and it is strict. Thank you.
I really agree with that. I really resonate with what you're saying. That we, being a refugee, I remember watching this show on this BBC One, and it was about refugees coming from Syria into Europe when this was a big issue. And this one guy says in that show is that in Syria we had first world problems. In Syria we had first world problems, but when after the war happened, we became a first world problem. And that is something a very strong message, that it is responsibility of each human to help another human, and it is only when a society is able to help the neighboring society is when they are able to progress. So even through the course of history, and I'm a big fan of history as it provides a very candid image of who we are, we have seen that only those civilizations have endured the test of time, that have the capacity to empathize and have the capacity to embrace the challenges and embrace the reality as how it is, rather than deflating and being uh, ostriches and putting our head under the ground. So on that note, what I like to do is share a brief interview from Khalid Hosseini, where he talks about why he writes, where he talks about the story of the refugee. So if Asif, if I can share my screen. Wait a second.
Mr. Elisha, you would like to share something because you don't have anything on the screen?
Yeah, yes. I'm not. We're working from home today, so I'm just asking my IT manager to do it. So it's just gonna take a minute. Thank you so much. Wait.
Hi, my name is Khalid Hosseini.
Can you guys hear that? Can you guys hear that?
Yes, we can hear them.
Oh, great.
I was born in 1965 in Kabul and was fortunate to live through the final few years of what's now, a forgotten era in Afghanistan. In those days, when I grew up in the 60s and 70s, Afghanistan was a country living in anonymity, at peace with itself and with its neighbors. And my personal recollections of my childhood in Afghanistan are very happy and cheerful. In 1976, my father was assigned to a diplomatic post at the Afghan embassy in Paris. He was a diplomat for the foreign ministry. And in October of that year, my family and I moved to Paris. We were supposed to be there for 4 years and then return to Kabul. But we never did, because in April of 78, Afghanistan underwent a bloody communist coup. And in December of 1979, the Soviets invaded Afghanistan. And almost weekly, we would hear news about former friends, colleagues, family members who'd been imprisoned, tortured, killed, or just gone missing. And it became clear that we could not go back to Afghanistan. It was not safe for our family. So my father applied for political asylum in the US, and we resettled in San Jose, California in 1980, the fall of that year. I think resettling was a difficult adjustment for my family, especially for my parents, but they persevered and they allowed us to go and get an education while they worked. And I'm happy and proud to say that today, all 5 of us, me and my 4 siblings, have settled in well, and that we have become, all of us, in our own way, productive and contributing members to our communities. I've told some version of my life story, I guess, through the lives of characters in my books. And maybe there's a writer or two in the audience among you. And if so, I would urge you to pick up a pen and write your story. I'm sure each of you has lived a life that would fill at least a novel or 2, or maybe even more. But I would urge you to tell your story, however you choose to do it, because you have something very important and fundamental to say. And there's no one on earth who's better qualified or better suited to tell it than you are. Each of you has a valuable and individual perspective. Going a displacement crisis that is, almost unparalleled in scope, and the world needs to hear from you. It needs to hear your stories. Your life experiences are windows into the plight of millions of people whose voices otherwise would go unheard. And you, all of you in the audience, each and every one of you, can be the voice for those people. And don't think that your stories will fall on deaf ears. Your stories will be heard, because despite what you may have heard, there is a capable and willing and enthusiastic audience out there that's eager to learn, that's eager to be educated, and eager to be enlightened through your narratives and your life experiences. And I would say that there's no better time for your advocacy than now, because of the incredible array and range of tools that are at your disposal. Thanks to technology, for instance, you can become active on Facebook or on Twitter to spread your message. And you can join online refugee discussion forums to follow refugee-related groups or to keep abreast of refugee current affairs. I would urge you to contact your local government agencies or your local NGOs to become involved in projects that help refugees. I would urge you to share your story with the local press, whether it's print or whether it's broadcast or online. Share your stories or the stories of other refugees in the community. The important thing is to understand that you have an incredible array of ways in which you can engage with the local community through different channels and spread your message about refugees and about asylees that have been resettled in the United States. You have, as I said, an incredible story to tell that needs to be told. There are people willing and eager to hear from you, and there's so many different ways for you to advocate on behalf of millions of people. So I wish you luck, and I wish you perseverance. I thank you in advance, the work that you're doing. And I thank you also for allowing me to be part of the Refugee Congress 2013.
So that was Mr. Khalid Hussaini sharing his thoughts. And the reason why I wanted to share this video with you guys was to hear the message that he says towards the end, that the stories that you have, our participants in Afghanistan, participants in Pakistan, are very important to be told. And only you can tell that story. So only you have the capacity and the power to create the change that we were talking about earlier. When we talk about all these issues of racism, discrimination, it is incumbent upon you. It is incumbent upon you that you all need to pick up a pen, pick up a video camera, pick up whatever tools that are available at your disposal. And important and the most important fact, do all of this out of love. Do it out of love that you have for yourself, for your community, for your society, and for humanity overall. Because it's only love has the capacity to extend your capacity to inhibit change. When I would just like to, I know we are running out of time, but I would just like to close it with the remark that when I was so I suffered from dyslexia throughout my life, and I was not diagnosed with dyslexia for a very later stage in my life. And stage, all my ideas were formed, and it was a very big struggle for me to be here to talk to you, to speak with you, to have a conversation with you. I was a kid who would always be tied up within himself and would not have the courage to even have a conversation with one another. But it was only through the power of love that I was able to come out of it. It's only through my perseverance, which was founded by love. So just take that message last note that it is your power, it is in your power to do all that you want to do, create the change that you want to create, and just make sure that everything is founded by love, because love, without love, all your endeavors would go in vain. So on that note, I would like to say a very warm thank you to all of you for joining us today, for engaging in this conversation, for reading the book, and for sharing your thoughts with us. Okay, so since we have our special guest, I will request if we can just all take up our mask, pose for a photo. If our participants from Rawalpindi who are joining us remotely would like to switch on their camera, I would really appreciate that. So Ashad, yeah, you can easily take a snapshot from us.
No, I think I already have one of all of us before I understand if people have their reservations around privacy. But thank you for having me. I just want to say that this was a lot of fun, and I think I learned a lot from all of you and all of what you guys had to share. And I hope this keeps on going as long as it does, because I think it's a really good opportunity for all of us.
Thank you so much for joining with us and sharing your views about it. We would really love to have you in another session, inshallah. So thank you, everyone. It's a goodbye from my side.
And thank you so much from everyone, and also from the very special guest, Mr. Qureshi, for joining us today. So we had very great discussions about the book, and we hope to see you for the next sessions. And also, very great to have you in our session, Mr. Qureshi. So see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Take care, guys. Take care.